So on today's podcast, I'm delighted to welcome Neil Boxer, an entrepreneurial leader with an impressive track record of setting up and driving ICT and telecoms companies to success. Neil has successfully transformed multiple businesses throughout his career, one of which has hit £15 million in turnover within 3 years. Neil, welcome. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, really pleased to be joining you today.
Well, firstly, let me
this
thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to talk to us about some of your business learnings and some of the challenges, I'm sure, of some of the opportunities along the way as well. It would be great to kick us off if you could just share a little bit about what it is that you do and what sort of services you offer.
Sure. So, as you said, I've spent my whole career in telecoms and IT, and I guess what I'm really focused on is about bringing new technologies to market and growing those businesses in that space. Ironically, what I'm doing today is I've been the MD for 3 years of actually what is an old tech business. It's a business called Airsys that is actually a radio technology distributor, so old technology in that case. But within that, though, I've been focused on bringing to market a new tech business that sits within that group of companies. Effectively, we've been incubating that new tech business over the last 3 years, and we're now really achieving some great things with it. So I'm actually looking to find a way to exit that business because it now needs to, go outside of what is a bigger group of businesses and grow from there. So and that's pretty much summarizes what I do and have done in my career, which is take something that's a fairly fledgling and grow it. And that's what really excites me, to be honest.
So how many times have you done that over the years then? What that sort of process?
Good question. Probably 3 or 4 times but at different stages and different sort of environments. I actually sort of that's what has quite interested me, but also I think has helped form my sort of philosophy for how to do this stuff, is taking some of those things from literally zero and growing them, as you say, to sort of the level of 15 million or whatever, but then also doing some transformation stuff at times, taking what was a successful business, but growing it, doubling it when it stayed flat was one of the things I've done. Also, I have worked for large businesses, people like Vodafone in the past as well. So, and grown stuff within that environment. And I guess where I'm at in my career now, it's about bringing all of the learning from all of that together into this space. And actually, but still, what excites me, what gets me going, is about taking something very new in a new space and creating something out of that, driving that early success, and then seeing where you can get it to.
So more of that sort of startup-y stage in terms of the project or whatever it is you're working on.
Yeah, I mean, it's really taking existing technology and putting it into a different context and actually taking it, actually creating new technology spaces, if you like. That's what I've done a few times in my career, and that's what we're doing now. And that's the thing that I guess it's a combination of recognizing that the strengths I've got really play into that, but the other piece is about what excites you, what interests you as well. So that is the bit that really interests me, is actually creating something from bare bones of stuff that's out there already, but actually, taking it out into the market in a way that means that it actually has an opportunity to really grow and be a big part of what we do in the economy in the UK.
So over the times that you've done this, I'm guessing you've got some sort of framework or some sort of structure in terms of what you typically do to start off with, and then where you take it off at the back of finding out a bit more information. Talk us through what is it you're typically looking at in the first, say, 90, 100 days?
The very first thing is understanding the bones of what you've got and what it could do. And I think, I've done this multiple times, and that probably helps, because that first initial exploration of what it is you have in front of you is really important. And one thing that really helps do that is that fresh set of eyes. So as an example, coming into Airsys, we had the technology and most of the components of what we've now taken to market and grown over the last 3 years, but those components needed to be reframed, I came in, had a look at them, and went, this could be something really significant. So that's the first bit, is understanding what you've got and what it can be capable of doing. And I guess if I bring one thing to any opportunity, it's having had a broad business background and a broad technology background, I can see where the opportunity really sits. And that's because I've always, throughout my career, however senior my roles, I've always stayed engaged with customers. So I really understand where technology can apply to the organizations and across pretty much all sectors. So I can see the opportunity. But that's great. But the next piece of that is creating that vision, translating it into something that's consumable by everyone else that needs to understand it in the business, stakeholders and staff alike. And then it's not, I in my basic belief system, it's not actually that complicated from that point on. It's having a very good target marketing led approach, go to market approach. And if you put that in place and follow the right steps, if you've got a good proposition behind you, you'll be successful. It's not quite that simple, unfortunately, but if you also need good people around you as well, which is the big factor. But that framework, like you say, I've put together over years and years of doing this, is about following those steps, being really clear on who your target market is, being really clear on putting out rich and engaging content into that target market, and then following through on that all the way through. I guess one of the real key things is about that engagement with real customers and real opportunities and how you manage that. That's obviously changed over the years from what it used to be with social media as the way of sometimes engaging initially people. But I think if there's one defining factor in that model that I use, it's about having people that can pick the phone up at some point in that process and actually transform what is an engagement with someone into a conversation, into a relationship, and then develop that into a closed piece of business.
Human to human contact at some point. Yeah. Okay.
I think at times we're bombarded with marketing stuff from agencies and all over the place that says it's all about the content, and at some point I agree, it's the start it is, but at the end of the sales and marketing process, it's about how people engage with people and translate that into business, especially when you're dealing with new tech, because most of the people you're talking to haven't really conceived that there is something out there that can satisfy that need that they've got.
They almost don't know they've got a problem that will fix type.
Yeah. And they've probably got 10 people telling them that the problem that they need fixing is X when it might be Y, but also their product fixes that problem the best. And this is what we found with the technology that we're focused on now, is that we're competing probably with other technology that solves the problems much less well. And so you've got to evangelize that the benefit of our technology over everything else that the customer's probably been buying for decades, right? And you've got to get that message across. But then the final bit is convincing them that they need to deal with someone else other than the people that they might have been dealing with for 10, 20 years with the technology. So that's the hardest bit, is in the final analysis, that's the hardest bit to make a business successful in a new tech space, is getting orders, getting the business, and it's so important to start building that relationship, person to person, as soon as you can in that process.
So the first bit of the business, going in and understanding the business, the proposition, like you say, understanding the target market to make sure you've got the product that fits the end user's requirements. And then the next bit, by the sounds of it, is kind of understanding the structure of the organizations and the sales process people. And then how you market that to a sales process. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. But when you've got stakeholders involved, be they investors, owners of businesses, all the stakeholders, the banks or whoever that you have, it's also important, I think, to be able to articulate the opportunity. And some of this needs a bit of investment. It might be just investment in people, it might be investment in lots of different ways. you're not going to get that investment or be given the time to make that investment if you don't then articulate what you think the opportunity is. And so I always back up at that stage everything with a pretty clear plan as well. So this is what we need to do, fully costed. In this business, we work on 5-year plans. Now, 5 years is a longer time frame that most of us need to think about, but it is important to see, particularly in new tech spaces, where that plan can go to over that sort of period, and then we revise that plan every year, right, against the results. So that, I think, is really important. Partly as well, not just to show the financial piece of that, it's about communicating the size of the opportunity, and also the very important part is bringing the rest of the team, the staff that you have or you need to get along with that vision, because there is a lot of hard work in the early stages of building a new business, a new tech space, but and the critical thing to all of this is having the right people. But the first point for me is that they understand that journey that you're on.
Yeah, if you've got the right people, you don't know what you're working on or towards, or exactly. You kind of got to have that plan. It's interesting you mentioned about the sort of 5-year plan in the sort of tech space and things like that. I think it's quite often overlooked, that planning process, for a lot of small to medium-sized enterprises, because it's kind of like, let's just do. Yeah. It's interesting that, even if you're just sort of going for funding through banks, or if you want to raise some funds through investors and things like that, one of the first things they typically look at is, what's your plan?
Yeah.
Where's the opportunity? Exactly that.
And it's partly down to as a leader, it's partly down to your credibility. They're not just looking at that because they want us to have the surety that there's going to be a business in 5 years' time and it's going to be worth their time and investment as well. It's also, they are slightly checking you out as that leader, to know that you are a credible person for taking that business to the next level. And so I think it is that broader stakeholder group that need to see that the plan. It is underestimated, and sometimes it's underestimated by the people you're then presenting it to. So, I've had the experience where I've done that work, and people sometimes get a bit worried that means you're not doing, because you're doing a plan. But the plan is essential, but it's not something that takes a long time. If you're good at it and you're focused, it's a bit
of a skill, isn't it? There's a bit of
and we talk about 90 days. Often in interviews and stuff, we talk about 90 days. I don't think it's never taken me 90 days to go from starting in a business to having a plan, clear plan on the table. It's more like, the very most, it'd be 60 days. But I've probably got the bones of that within 30 days, normally 45 days at the outside. So it's not like it's just, I'm not going to do anything for the first 90 days until I've got a plan. But also that then 100% will form the objectives of the leadership team. What the plan says, then as you adapt it every year. I mean, I think the other part of it is we think of planning as financial planning. That is an important component of it, but what we're going to do with the people, how we're going to communicate what we do to the market, is the written part is important as well. And that saves time interviewing people, recruiting people, because that just becomes what you talk to. And that's, you share that with
growth plans don't need to be financial growth. They can be team growth, development of products and services as well.
Exactly.
Part of the plan can be new markets and new technologies, not just financial growth. Very cool. So you've got an opportunity where you've sort of spotted the vision. You've got a sort of strategy, a plan to take it there, and then the next bit is the people. So what sort of things are you looking at when you're looking at the people to make sure that you've got the right ones and you're all aligned towards that common goal?
Yeah, probably the biggest challenge you ever face in business, in my opinion, is putting the right team together. Sometimes you get lucky, so the people in that environment that you're going into, which are good, and that's what I have generally found. There might be people that aren't achieving what they should achieve at that point, but
because there's maybe not a plan in place, and you've got that clarity. And
100%. It's they're doing a job, but they're a little bit headless. They don't know exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. And so, it's just human behavior, isn't it? The results don't come out of that. They don't, a lot of, I come from a sales background, and a lot of being successful in business is about confidence. So if you're not really confident in what you're doing because you haven't been given that direction and that framework, then that will come through in everything that you do. Every customer you speak to, it will come through. So that's part of doing the plan, and part of having a vision with something, and particularly in the new tech space. You've got to make sure the people understand it and they've got the confidence. And that's a good test to see whether people are the right fit, right? So if they listen to you, they take that view on, they start to develop it, they start to engage with that vision and that plan, then you've got the right people. Then it's down to good coaching and stuff that you understand very well. I'm a great believer in people, and therefore you think if you've got that raw component of really being bought in, everyone, if they're bought in, will work hard. That's a given for me. The next bit is shaping them and directing them, and that's my role as a leader, engaging with them to get them to deliver what's needed. And that's the hard bit. Some very, very rarely do you see that if you get that first spark of, yes, I really get this, I want to be part of this. If you see anyone fail, you might have to change their role somewhat or whatever, but mostly I've seen that it's been successful from that point on.
Very good. And in terms of that sort of fostering that performance culture and that communication piece, what sort of mechanical processes or structures or frameworks do you put in place to sort of make sure it comes to life, make sure it actually happens?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things, aren't there? I mean, one is having a regular meeting structure at the different levels of a business. So it depends on the size of the business, but having a well-structured and good board reporting. So, you've got to continue in the leadership role. You've got to continue to bring all the stakeholders along with that. But also people need to know that they are held to account. So, and that they're being measured and all the measures in the right place. So in pretty much every business I've been involved in, however small, actually, I've always insisted on there being a good board that meets once a month, if possible, and that governance and that structure is there at that level. All of this comes out of having a good plan in the first place, right? Because that they're your KPIs.
Review the plan and replan. Yeah.
There are other important structural things like a good CRM system, a good all the marketing automation stuff you can get now. So investment in business systems is often doesn't need to be massive, but it needs to be proportionate to the business that you're running, so that and then it's just for me, once you've got those things in place, it's then just about using them well and regularly. So in pretty much every business I've been in, the sales organization will meet, however big or small that is, right? If that's one person, will meet with me and the management once a week and go through the pipeline. And people will challenge everyone on everything in that, and just make sure things are moving forward. So pipelines are really important. I come personally from a consultative-led sales background, so my piece in all of that is often to help, with the larger opportunities, be involved. So I'll be asking to be involved in those things at the right time, but also challenging people on how they've approached an account and coming up with new ideas and constantly doing that. And that's how you move that forward. I mean, the only other structural thing that I have, which is sort of an important thing, is that my target marketing model, which I've developed over many years, which works for any business to business type environment, tech environment. And that it goes back to the original plan. It's knowing who your target market is, regularly creating the rich content to target that market, pushing that stuff out there, and then following all the way through to a phone call, an appointment, and then a sale. So having that sensible flow of stuff. And so that the once a week sales meeting will basically be looking at how we're progressing on all those things throughout that funnel pipeline, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, clear communication strategy.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. So what keeps you motivated on these sort of entrepreneurial journeys and projects
Well,
that you work on?
I think
What motivates you?
more than anything, I think it's when you have that opportunity to engage with an end customer, either directly or through one of your sales staff, and you come up with that new solution. And because I pretty much everything I do has always been about, I start with a premise. I've always started with a premise in business that we're in tech is generally a service industry. It's not a hard product. I've sold hard products before, but there's always a bit of software in the background that could be tweaked to do something different. And so every need that you're going to, every customer you're going to, it's a new need. You're creating a new product in the process of selling to that customer. And that's what I guess really ultimately gets me going, is that every time you do something, you go, well, I didn't really think we could, that's something that we did. Now we do that. And it's amazing. We solved someone's problem. I can really relate that to what we're doing with the company that we're doing now. So what I realized was what was a technology that was badly described, by describing it differently and realizing what it is actually something very valuable to our economy. And that's basically, we've created a solution that is the unified communications, the Teams or the Zoom for deskless workers. Because if you think about it, we're both sat at desks and on computers. All the tech we use is pretty much designed for that environment. Very little is designed, even like unified comms doesn't really work for someone that's I don't know, in a tunnel somewhere or up a electricity pole.
True.
So we've created a technology, and it's a new space really, that we call group communications as a service, closely related to unified communications as a service, but it is subtly different, that transforms the lives of deskless workers. And you know what? Those are the people that were essential workers during the pandemic. So, it is underlying my sort of belief, and why I'm so excited about what we're doing, and get really motivated by what I'm doing and what the team are doing out there, is because I know that we can change and improve the working lives for those people that we relied on, that saved lives, did all those good things during the pandemic, that we realized actually we called them essential workers, but it was only because of the pandemic that we realized these people were so important.
They've always been important, haven't they? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very good. That's a really cool story, actually. That's really nice to hear about the work that you're trying to do to get to that end user and enhance people's lives. Really powerful. It's really, really interesting story. It's been great to talk to you. And over the years you've done this a number of times. So I guess you sort of learnt lots over the years and had lots of challenges and things. What would be one piece of advice that you'd give to, sort of like an entrepreneur out there with a medium-sized business who wants to sort of take the business to the next level?
I think that the biggest piece of advice I would give is growing businesses, making this happen isn't about you, isn't about your vision, ultimately, isn't about the planning that you do, the work that you do. It's about the team, the people you surround yourself with. So, if I was to give people advice, it would be, don't, lead, and when you need to, direct, but listen to your people, shape them, give them some free rein, let them take the direction. I get the most pleasure out of when my team come back to me with things I've not asked them to do, ideas, or they've done something, they've developed, like one of my guys came in this morning and he's gone off on his own and developed some software that's we can use in a demo that we're doing, but also we can sell to the customer. No one asked him to do it. He just realized it was required and came up with it and just got on with it. And that's what giving people the free rein, the opportunity to understand what they need to do to contribute, but also just let them get on with it is important. I think also having a very clear focus, that achievement first and then the most important thing to me is you need to have fun as well. So celebrate achievement, but achievement comes first. You've got to focus on, we're here to do a job.
Yeah.
But when you do that job, when people create stuff that you didn't ask them to do, and it's really good work, celebrate that and enjoy. And as a team, make sure you call that out and have a bit of fun as well.
Great advice. Great advice. Love it. Thank you very much for your time today. It's really been good to talk to you and get some business learnings from you. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
I'm more than welcome. Thank you. That's been great.
Thanks, Neil.
Cheers.